Hey guys, how's it going, and welcome back to another episode. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the fact that Mexico is not a cheap destination anymore. It's still an awesome destination. It's still a very affordable destination, but it's not a cheap destination anymore. And we're going to be talking about that in today's episode. We're going to be dissecting the whole concept of what it is to live out here these days, and we're going to start we're going to do a bunch of things, everything from compare prices. We're going to do basically a updated version of cost of living. I did a cost of living episode at the beginning of the year, so basically like 7 months ago, and my gosh, as I was doing the numbers before I decided to record this, I realized, wow, the prices of basically everything in dollars has increased by a substantial amount, literally 20% or more, depending on the situation. But we will be talking about that, and what is the future, what does it hold, when it comes to this topic, this situation, and is the Mexican, the whole idea of coming out here to Mexico and live in Mexico for a more affordable price, is that whole thing still alive? Before we get started, let's do a little bit of a background into what is really going on here. Let's go back in time real quick and see what's going on, with the peso, the dollar. Why is everybody freaking out right now? Why are things getting more expensive? What's really going on? What happened? As you know, we've already talked about this multiple times on my channel, that the reality is that what's going on right now is that the US dollar, or whatever currency you're using, but most people are out there using the US dollar, their currency, that currency is losing value each and every day. And it's becoming more and more evident each and every day. And how do you know this? Well, things are just going up in price. You already know the value of your dollar, your currency in your country, isn't what it used to be. So what makes you think it's going to be any more different abroad in another country? And especially when you go to a country like Mexico, in which they have a strong economy as opposed to a weak economy. So therefore it doesn't counterbalance very well. If you go to certain other countries out there, you can still live very cheap, very affordably with the dollar, because in those countries they have also experienced hyperinflation, and so therefore because of that, well, guess what, your dollar is going to go just as far as it used to, or further, in some of these countries. But in other countries like Mexico, for example, your US dollar, your currency, is going to be valued less and less each and every day. And sure, again, as the days go on, sometimes it'll be valued a little more, sometimes it'll be valued a little less, because as we go on in this episode, I'm going to start showing you, what's going on with the currency itself. And of course, it's going to vary in price by the time you're watching this. But in my estimation, in my, my prediction going forward from this show on, even though I talked about this before, is that it's going to continue to lose value as time goes on. Now, I don't know how long it's going to last. There's a lot of things that are also involved here, a lot of geopolitical issues. I can go on and on, but that's not what we're talking about here today. We're talking about the fact that, what's going on, why are things getting more, expensive for you as a foreigner living in Mexico. All right, so let's go back in time real quick. So as you guys can see here, I got the chart, as far as it goes on Google, so we can take a look at, the whole price of what's been going on in the last basically 20 years or so. So as you guys can see here on this chart, on the first chart that we're going to be looking at, on the first chart, it says, that back in 2008, which is around 15 years ago, the dollar was 10 to 1. Look at that. Isn't that crazy? So 1 to 10. All right. So again, you get $1. $1 would get you 10 pesos. All right. So that's only 15 years ago. All right. Let's not forget that. But I guess we did. That's what we're making this episode. Now let's go forward a little bit from 2008 and make our way all the way down to 2014. In 2014, look at that. Look at the increase that we saw. We went from 10 to 13. All right, basically 13. All right, so right off the bat, it's already, moving up. Now let's move to July of 2016, so basically 2 years later, and as you guys can see here, the price has moved up all the way to 1874. So basically almost sixth Wow, there's 6 pesos, so 6 peso increase. So in a short amount of time, in a short period, we basically went from, 10 to 1 all the way to 18 to 1, 19 to 1, all right? And that was, again, just 8 years. And then basically from the period of 2016 going forward all the way till January of 2023, it was basically going up from the $18-19 range all the way till 2020 when the whole situation happened, and it went as high as 25 pesos to the dollar. So if you came out here like 7 years ago, at the height, as soon as the dollar was, 1 to 18, 1 to 19, and you came out here with a very, very, very strong dollar to the peso. And back then, again, the prices of many things, especially when it came to homes, investments, and so on and so forth, were very low compared to what they are today. Well, you took full advantage, and you're probably sitting pretty right now. But in that time, think about it. It took a very long time. It took about 7 years for us to get from, again, the 18, 19 range, all right, and just stay there. We stayed in that range, give or take, for about 7 years, all the way till early this year in January of 2023, where we started to drop, and we are where we are today, where we are in the mid 16s, and I think we're going to keep dropping. So what does that mean? Again, as you guys can see from the chart right here, from the last 7 years or so, just staying within that, 1 to 20 range on average. Okay. So most people, we're used to, and we're already, accustomed, to the whole idea that it's going to be $1 will get you 20 pesos. And so as the dollar has been dropping, again, from the beginning of the year, about 7 months ago, we were at 1 to 20. And now where we are today, we are like at what it says here on the chart, 1 to 16 something, all right? And it's going to probably keep dropping. In fact, let's just keep it at 1 to 16. So if it just drops to 16, which is the next move here, all right? All of a sudden, you're looking at a 20% increase. And even though certain things, might stay or have remained the same price, obviously, certain things have gone up in price because inflation has hit the whole world. That's another issue. We're not going to talk about that at this moment. But just with the fact, in which, let's just say that certain things remain the same price, and you don't have to worry about that. Well, guess what? You still have to worry about the fact that your currency has lost on average, about 20% in value. And due to that fact, all of a sudden, everything is now 20% more expensive. So basically, out there, if you have very little retirement, you only have, around $1,000 a month, give or take, to retire on. That's all you have. That used to give you a lot more than what is going to give you right now. So I have made many videos in the past talking about the fact that, yeah, you could live out here technically for around $1,000 a month. Sure, it wasn't going to be easy. It depends on who you are. You could definitely make it work. You could probably live like a king or queen. For some people, it's going to be a lot more difficult, to do it on that amount. Again, some of you guys have less than $1,000 a month in retirement or pension or what have you. Some of you guys are a little lucky, have a little bit more. Some of you guys have a lot more. But for the longest time, I have been talking about the fact, and a lot of people have been talking about the fact on other YouTube channels on trying to retire on a very small retirement. If you're only getting like around $1,000 a month. And Mexico used to be a really awesome destination. Again, just when it was 1 to 20, all right, a year ago, 7 months ago, give or take, the prices out here are, what you're going to be seeing on screen right now. And as you guys can see from the prices, we're going to do a simple comparison to what the prices were when I made the original cost of living video 7 months ago at the beginning of the year, when the prices were 1 to 20, again, $1 getting you 20 pesos, to what they would be in a very near future of 1 to 16, where $1 gets you 16 pesos. Again, right now, currently, we are at 16 and change, depending on where you're watching this. And who knows, by the time you're watching this, we might even be below 16. But let's just keep it at 16 to, not give any heart attacks out there, any unnecessary heart attacks.
Bruh.
But you got to keep it realistic and keep the open mind that it could drop 1 to 10, because 15 years ago we were at 1 to 10, as you guys saw earlier in the video. So why wouldn't it keep dropping and get to that point at some point in the future? It's probably not going to happen tomorrow, but who knows? You know what I mean? Like when it'll happen. You know what I mean? If things keep going in the same direction in both countries, I definitely see it going to 10. And who knows? Maybe below that. But hey, let's just keep it at 10. I think that's low enough, for most people out there, to, not have a heart attack. But anyways, as you guys are going to see here, on the chart, the prices of things like, for example, rent. Rent, again, just 7 months ago was $275 US, when you do the conversion. Today, it's $344. Bruh. Same rent. And look at the increase in price. Okay, look at things like the power bill. The power bill used to be $65 a month. Now it's around $80 a month. Now, again, these are estimations. They're not the give or take a couple dollars here or there, but you can just get the idea of what things cost. Okay, the internet. The internet was $25 a month for forever, for the longest time, and now today, $36 a month. Again, cell phone, $15 a month, and I'm talking about cell phone service for me and Christian a month. Used to be $15 a month, and now today it is $19 a month, $20 a month. All right, so all right, the water bill. All right, and I'm talking about all the water. I'm not just talking about the water that comes into the house. The potable water, the water that we use for every day. For shower, to water the garden, what have you, just like Christian's doing right now. She's watering the garden and so on and so forth. So not just watering the garden, but also the water that we drink, the water that, this water, the actual water, that we get delivered to the house. So, all that used to be $25 a month. Now it's around $44 a month. All right. Again, I was very surprised with all the price increase. And again, food used to be $400 a month, and now again I just kept it at the same amount. What it would be today, that's $500 a month. All right, but it's probably more, I would say. Yes. All right, so when you kind of add them both up, that's why when I used to make videos back in the day, saying, can you live here on 1,000? Of course you can. Look at that. You're coming under budget. It's 800, if 800 a month, give or take. Of course, there's other things that we're going to talk about, other expenses, but these are just your basics. All right, so your basics could be covered for 800 or less a month. And today, those same exact expenses are going to cost you, look at that, over $1,000 a month. Okay, so it's already a 20% increase with just the exchange where it is at today, give or take. All right, and that's not including things like your transport. How are you going to get around? Uber, taxi, a bus. You're going to get a car. You got to pay for gas. You got to pay for other things that, for the car, insurance, this, that. Not just transport, but what about fun? You're going to have some sort of fun, right? I mean, you're not going to just stay home all day, every day. Yes, there's a lot of things you can do in Mexico for fun and entertainment that are inexpensive. But you got to also take into place that, take into account that there are many things that, they're just going to cost you some money, whether you want to do them or not. Again, everyone has a different budget and different needs, but I'm just going through a list that I made here of things, you got to take into account as well. What about savings? You definitely better have some savings. You definitely better be putting aside money every month, especially if you're on a fixed income. You definitely have to, because emergencies can arise. Any kind of situation can arise, and you need to have savings. And how else are you going to get money if you don't have any money to tap into from any other source? So you better make sure you have some sort of savings. So every single month, you better make sure to put some money apart. Whether it's cash or you're buying some silver or whatever it is, make sure that you're putting some money aside. Okay, let's not forget, there's other things that go with fun. Like, for example, some of you guys drink alcohol. Some of you guys have other libations or other habits or other things that you like and want and need in order to live a happy and fulfilling in life and have a high quality of life, whatever that is. And so again, you got to take that into account. That's going to cost money. These are all extra expenses. Again, What about medical expenses? Look, some of you guys out there, are young and you don't got to worry about medical expenses. They come when they arise. And so you can just put this into the emergency category. But there's many of you guys that your medical expenses, that's, part of your monthly budget. You got to make sure that you got enough for that. What about, gas for the home, depending on where you live. This is why I don't put it part of the monthly expenses, because depending on where you live in Mexico, some of you guys are going to need more gas than others. I'm not talking about propane gas. People use gas out here a lot, for heating or for, cooking or for what have you. So again, out here in the Yucatan, in this part of Mexico, in the jungle, we just use gas for cooking. Okay, so, but they use it for other things as well, but mainly cooking. In other parts in the mountains, which most people live in, or, higher elevation, they might use it for other things. So gas for the home is very important. That's an expense for me every 6 months. Just like I got to buy dog food every several months. I just buy a big monster bag of dog food, all right? And, I supplement his dinner with other things, like I cook chicken and what have you for him, and I give that to him. But again, dog food, dog needs, pet issues. Another thing is, for example, what if you're single? What if you want to or need to be dating? What if you're not single? You still need to date. I still go on dates. We have to still go on dates with the wife. I still go on a date with my wife. We enjoy it. We love it. That's part of our monthly budget. We make sure that we have enough. But again, it's easy. It's not like it's a whole thing that you gotta really spend a lot on. So you gotta take that into account. If you're single or not single, you're probably gonna want to go to the park, get some ice cream, get some dinner, yada yada yada. And again, it doesn't have to be the most expensive thing in the world. Again, but you take that into account. One way or the other, you're probably gonna have to spend some money on that, or not. And again, one of the most important issues, let's not forget this at all. If you're out here on a FMM, on a tourist visa, you're just out here, with your 6 month, 180 day visitor's visa, well then guess what, you're gonna have to do visa runs, and you gotta save up for that, and that's gonna cost you money every 6 months, and you're gonna do a visa run. You gotta make it happen one way or the other. You gotta pay for that, and then eventually you're gonna have to figure out a way to save enough money, make enough money, whatever, get that situation corrected, so that you can get your temporary residency. So residency is also a major thing that you got to take into account, and at the very least you got to pay for your visa runs every 6 months. So these are all these expenses, plus again, maybe you guys in the comment section can add some more expenses, because I'm always missing individual expenses. Everybody has different expenses. Remember, I was telling you guys, I have a pet. I got a dog. I also have a pet horse, Lambo. You know him. Bruh. Anyways, you can watch, some of the live streams. He only comes out live streams. He doesn't like coming out in these videos. He hates the whole process of making one of these videos, but he's always around for the live stream, so you can check him out there. But long story short, we all have different needs and different expenses, and so with that being said, we got to take all that into account. So you guys already know what my expenses are. My expenses are at the very least, $1,000. That's just the basics. That's not including all those other things that we talked about there. So all of a sudden now you can just imagine, what my actual expenses are, as time has gone on. When I first came out here 5 years ago, my expenses were nowhere near that. Are you kidding me? Of course, I was a single guy. I was just basically living very simply. I was, eating like beans and eggs and sandwiches and, hot dogs and, just things like that every day. And I was barely making it, but I was definitely making it. I always had a roof over my head, electricity, water, internet, everything I needed. But hey, it was what it was. And so, for many people out there, if you're going to come to Mexico these days, if your budget isn't, what you thought it was going to be, especially as the dollar keeps dropping in comparison to the peso here, the peso keeps getting stronger and so on, you're going to have to make some, hard decisions. What are you going to do when you come out here? So for some of you guys, you might be able to go on ahead and, sell a home or sell a large asset and perhaps come out here and buy a home, and you're lucky. Yes, you would have been luckier, if you would have paid or bought the home, 7 months ago or further, back when it was 1 to 20. But since, hey, still there's some value on your currency, you can still go on ahead and buy a home. And then that's a protection it's like future proof, you know what I mean? In a sense, protects you. It's a hedge against inflation, because all of a sudden you got your main expense, which is rent, most likely, besides food. But, food and rent are always your highest expense. Now, since you own your home, you're protected against inflation, because it doesn't matter how much it drops, you got your home taken care of. So now all of a sudden you just got to take care of all the other expenses that, again, they're going to increase as the price of the dollar drops compared to the peso. Things just get more expensive in that sense. So you got to, again, take that into account. Now, listen, I hope I'm wrong, maybe in the future, you know what I mean? Like, just for the sense of people making dollars and other currencies, that, hey, things will reverse and things will get better. But the reality is, the way I look at it, and, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm nobody here. But the way I look at it, the way I've experienced, the things around me, and just the research I've done myself, my conclusion is that it's going to continue to drop. At the very least, I don't think it's going to go higher anytime soon. I think it's going to continue to drop, and as the climate basically stays the same, well, I think that obviously we're going to continue in the same path. Now, things can change at any moment. We know that. So who knows what could happen tomorrow? Who knows? I might be recording this right now, and 2 days after I published the video, some crazy thing happens in the world, and all of a sudden everything I'm saying in this video are moot point, because things just kind of go back to what they used to be, because that's what happened the last time. 3+ years ago, before the whole situation happened with the virus, we were already on this path, where the dollar, again, was weakening and the peso was getting stronger, and it was already on its way down. And as soon as the whole situation happened, it jumped up all the way to 25 to 1. And then from that point, all the way to where we are now, we've been dropping gradually. And it wasn't really until the beginning of this year, it wasn't, beginning basically from January till now, from January 2023 going forward, where we've really been seeing a gradual drop. But now, 7 months later, it's not that gradual. It's a 20% difference, which is a big drop. Now, let's talk about the fact that this whole situation, of the US dollar losing its value next to the peso, hurting your pocket and every foreigner's pocket. The reality is that, this is not hurting Mexicans' pockets. The only Mexicans in which it's hurting, in a sense, are people that are getting remittances, okay, which is, again, money from abroad. Any Mexican that lives outside of Mexico and works outside of Mexico and sends money to Mexico, that money is worth less and less every day. But with that being said, the fact that they're making more in Mexico already to begin with, more and more Mexicans are less incentivized to go abroad. Okay, now, yes, I already know what I'm going to hear in the comments. Oh, what about all the immigrants at the border? Yeah, check all the immigrants. They're not Mexican. Most of them are not Mexican. Most of them are from other countries. And especially these days, are you kidding me? These days, more than ever, most Mexicans are realizing, yeah, wait a minute, we're not getting any bang for our buck anymore. There's no point to working in the USA or Canada or what have you anymore, because each and every day, these dollars that we're working so hard for, they're worth less and less every day. And then, we're looking at, what job offers are in Mexico for a lot of jobs there, and things are changing all of a sudden, and now they're, making more. Now, listen, not every Mexican's making more. Not every Mexican has a great economy or a great job or whatever. But the reality is that most Mexicans that you ask, for the most part, not only are they making more, or they got better job opportunities, or better just, opportunities in general, but even, people like grandma, which are depending on a government pension, they're doing better. They can afford more nicer things. Things are going better for them economically. And everyone in Mexico is having a better, economic go at it than they used to. And as, the Mexican peso continues to get stronger and stronger and stronger, and especially as, the US dollar keeps getting weaker and weaker, now they can afford nicer things and they can buy more things. And now all of a sudden, again, the strong peso works works in their favor, and they're very happy. So the reality is that for the typical Mexican, even with inflation, even though there have been price increases on certain things due to demand and other factors, the reality is that most Mexicans these days are making a lot more, and their pesos are worth a lot more, so they're definitely not feeling it. So, and then other immigrants, a lot of immigrants that are coming out here to Mexico, and they themselves are, for example, working in the Mexican economy, whether they have a job or whether they themselves, have their own business or whatever it is. Well, guess what? They're making pesos, and they're making strong pesos. And now, some immigrants can send pesos back to their home country, and now it's, better than for some immigrants, than working in the USA. But even if they don't send any money back, just the fact that these immigrants are here and they're making these pesos that are very strong, and, they're, again, very happy to be in an awesome country, it's only strengthening, the Mexican economy. So that's just the reality of it. So, most people that are living here don't really feel it. It's the only ones that are really feeling this whole, price increase, this whole inaffordability of Mexico are foreigners, and especially foreigners that are making dollars. Now, listen, if you're making, $3,000, $4,000 a month, all right, most likely you're not going to have a problem coming to Mexico, or you're not going to really have too much of a problem when it comes to this whole situation. It's yes, things are still 20% more expensive, but the prices in Mexico are still nowhere near what they are in your home country. But if you're coming out here and you're only making from your online job, just $1,000 or $2,000, again, you are only on a fixed income, fixed pension. Yes, this is going to be hurting you the most. And, this is, again, something that a lot of you guys have to consider for many reasons, because it's only going to probably keep going in this direction. And so, yes, for a lot of you guys, Mexico is still going to be a better option. For a lot of people, Mexico is going to be the best option, and it's going to be a better and better option as each day goes by. But for a lot of people, now all of a sudden, this whole Mexican dream, this whole Mexican retirement, fantasy is almost dead in the water, and it's not what it used to be. And things are just more expensive because, again, it's not just the exchange rate, but things have gone up in price due to inflation, due to demand, due to so many factors. And when you start really compiling all this stuff together, it's a major whammy to a lot of people that do not have the ability to make more money. I hope that makes sense. Now, let's not forget, again, like I was saying earlier, Mexico's still going to be very affordable for many people, for everyone, for the most part. Again, if you compare prices to what you're paying in, California, Florida, and a lot of places in the USA, Canada, Vancouver, what have you, Mexico's extremely affordable, even with the price increases. Yes, it used to be a third of the price, meaning that, let's say that something cost $1,000 in the USA, it used to cost $333 here. So now with everything that's happened, now that same item is not $333, but now it's maybe $500 or $550. And guess what? It's still cheaper. It's still more affordable for a lot of people, and a better option for many people. The people that, are really not going to find this a better option anymore, the people that are really not going to they're not going to like living in Mexico anymore, are the people that have, high-end luxury taste. So, back in the day, again, with the really good exchange rate and things just being cheaper because of lower inflation and so on and so forth, a lot of people could live really well on very little. And they used to have, a lot of expensive taste, and it was okay. They could afford it. But as time has gone on, they've had to, cut back on those expensive tastes because they just haven't been able to afford them anymore, just because, again, all these factors that we've talked about. And so a lot of these people, these are the people that are going to be suffering the most. But again, if you're already, you're barely making it, you're cutting your pills in half, when you're in the USA, you're maybe skipping meals, you're not having a really good time at all where you're from. Well, guess what? No matter what happens, with the exchange rate, I think you're going to be in a way better position in Mexico than you would be in the USA. But for, just about everyone else out there that is still, working age or working capability or what have you, and you can do, multiple things, not just, work for somebody else, work for a company, or what have you, but you can literally, work online or start your own business, like I've talked about before. Again, if you want more information on how to start your own business and, what business is like and doing all that stuff out here in Mexico, check out the video I have, on that topic and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, as long as you have the ability to make a lot of dollars, or again, more dollars than, what you used to need, back in the day. So again, if you have the ability to just make dollars or make whatever, to buy you enough pesos to live on out here, then you're good to go. You know what I mean? Like the reality is that the goal now is to start making pesos over whatever currency you have. Yes, the dollar is still mighty and still worth more. And obviously, again, for $1, you get 16 pesos, give or take. But, as that keeps dropping, will it be worth it, to, continue making these dollars when you can simply make pesos and then get all these other benefits that come with making those pesos? So, something to think about. Remember, freedom and comfort are not the same thing. And to have true freedom, the more freedom you have, the more comfort it's most likely going to cost you. All right. And the more comfort you have, the more freedom it's going to cost you. And so the reality is that, like, if you're really just looking for freedom, then you'll be totally fine out here in Mexico. You're not going to really have to worry about, that whole idea that you're going to lose your freedom out here. Yes, again, things could cost more. The prices of many things are going to keep increasing as the exchange rate, keeps, going the way it's going. And other factors. But at the end of the day, Mexico is going to be an amazing option because you're going to have that freedom. And, you're going to be able to live out here and not worry about so many of the things that you normally have to worry about in your neighborhood, in your life right now. It's going to be a welcome relief to come out here to Mexico. Not just the fact that, again, your dollar's still getting some value out here, and you're not going to be living like a king or a queen, but you'll be very comfortable and free and happy, and you can make things work, and you can work your way around, the other factors, in order to make sure that you have a very high quality of life. Now, in my estimation, as time goes on, I think Mexico is going to become more of a high-end destination than anything else. And, again, people also have to keep that in mind because, Mexico is not a third world country anymore where you got a donkey that's picking you up at the airport and taking you to your hotel. In fact, it was never that anyway. But long story short, things have dramatically changed, and they're going to be changing even further. And so you got to keep that in mind that, there's going to be tons of people that are going to keep coming to Mexico to retire, and they're going to love Mexico, but it's going to be completely different. It might be a lot more high rollers as opposed to a lot of low rollers. And that's just the reality of it because, for a lot of people, it might not be worth it anymore to just come out to Mexico. And for others, wow, now all of a sudden, Mexico's really looking like a really good destination. So you got to look at it like that as well. Things are changing dramatically. So don't forget that most people, will be welcoming that change as well. So, it's just going to be even more, bettering of the economy, more incentive for Mexicans to stay out here, more incentive to make pesos instead of dollars or whatever. Again, it's just even more and more reason for everything to just keep strengthening. At the end of the day, for many, it's just not going to matter how low the price goes. It's not going to matter how expensive things get. It's not going to matter, relative to the dollar, what the exchange rate is and stuff like that. And that's because, again, for many people out there that have made the right financial moves and investments and so on and so forth and know what's going on and have protected themselves adequately, then, they don't got a problem. They don't got nothing to worry about. For a lot of people out there that are young, they're coming out here to start a new life, basically set up roots, become Mexicans, make Mexican pesos, be part of the economy, so on and so forth. You got nothing to worry about. The only ones that really have more to worry about are the older generation, the older folk, the ones that are coming out here on a very small retirement. That's really the people that got to worry about it. Basically everyone else, as long as you have the ability to make money, make pesos, function in the Mexican economy, again, you decide to go, all in and, hey, I'm going to live in Mexico and be part of Mexico and this is my new life and future and everything, then you're going to be, doing awesome. you're going to be very happy, and you're going to be in a very awesome position as, the future, moves ahead. But again, it's just those people out there, unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that have, a small pension, small retirement, just a small amount of money every month that comes in. They might not have the ability to make money. They might not have the ability to, make extra income or what have you. And then these are the people that might be in a rough position. And they might end up living like grandma, and that might not be for everybody, because again, grandma, and Mexican grandma, was born and raised in Mexico, lives in Mexico, whatever, she lives on around, I would say, 300 US, give or take 350 US a month, and she lives very happy. Of course she would love to live in a palace, but all intents is, what is it, when it all comes and boils down to it, that's around what she lives on. But if, typical person her age has to come out here and live like she lives these days, they might not be able to hack it. It's almost the equivalent of camping, for many people. And, again, it's just things that you got to really consider and really understand. And the way things are going, right now, again, if you're making, $800 a month, give or take, and, now things have gotten way more expensive, you're only at double right now. You would only be almost a double or a little bit over double grandma's budget. So just keep that in mind. So, again, for many people, making just a little bit amount of money a month, and no ability to make any more, you guys have a lot to think about. For everyone else, you also have a lot of things to think about, because again, for people like me, that are younger, that are out here, not just married, but are just setting up roots and want to be here for a very long time. Well, guess what? For us, we don't got too much of a problem. I'm very happy. I want the peso to get stronger and stronger. The stronger it gets, the better it is for me and for everyone around me. And it's just, for me, the way I look at it, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. And for anyone out there, that is considering come to Mexico, living in Mexico, starting a new life in Mexico, this is only better news each and every day. Because, for example, you're young, you can come out here. Now, guess what? Maybe working for a Mexican company might be a good idea. It might not be that bad of an idea. Again, depending on what you do, especially like if you're doing, things that are very in demand, you speak Spanish and English, I can go on and on, hey, it might be worth it, to work for a Mexican company. So just consider that and think about that. And again, you're going to have to do your own research on all this. But, the more I hear about this, of others, other foreigners out there that are, for example, I heard of a foreigner out there that he works IT. He works in that kind of like world, of the internet, and what is it, technology and all that good stuff. And long story short, this is a person that can work internationally and can get a job with anyone, any company, and get paid in dollars, euros, whatever. And long story short, they, when all their, offers were laid on the table, they decided to go with the Mexican offer, because the Mexican offer was basically paying about the same, maybe a little less, but it came with so many benefits of having a Mexican job. And so to them, to him, it was just like, oh my God, this is totally worth it, because now, it's just, a lot easier for me to function going forward. And, why not? And then as time goes forward and the peso gets stronger, well, guess what? So will, he's just going to get a raise, as, without even getting a raise. It's just as the peso gets stronger, he's just automatically getting a raise. So again, to reiterate, for anyone out there making pesos, especially Mexicans, this is just awesome news. Because, for example, a lot of Mexicans, want to visit other countries, even the USA. They got family in the USA and they would love to visit, but they can't afford it. Well, guess what? As this drops, now they can afford to make that trip to the USA. Now they can go to Las Vegas. Now they can go see Disney World. Now they can go, to all these parts of the world. Now they can go on ahead. In fact, I got a close friend of ours, that they're in a heavy metal band. They can now go tour Japan. How about them apples? Because now they can afford it, because now it's extremely affordable. Not just Japan, but other countries. The peso's so strong that it's strong in other countries. So now a lot of Mexicans are able to travel the world, and able to, go and do things that they were not able to do not too long ago, because the peso was not, strong. It was very weak. So The reality is that the only people that are really, going to be feeling this are just a select few people that are not really taking advantage of this situation of, the strong peso. Because at the end of the day, it's only your loss if you, unfortunately cannot make any pesos or function in the Mexican economy, especially if you're going to be living out here. So, in the meantime, the dollar and other currencies are still strong, and yes, a dollar is still going to get you a lot more pesos than just a peso. But at the end of the day, as things change, guess what? That peso is going to be worth more each and every day. And it's going to be more coveted each and every day, and I'm going to buy you more, and so on and so forth. So with all that being said, this is a lot to think about and a lot to swallow. For some people, you guys, your Mexican dream might be shattered. You might not be able to afford Mexico anymore. It's just not cheap anymore. It's just affordable, not cheap, but definitely affordable. But for a lot of people, you guys are not even seeing this. If you're just coming to Mexico right now and you're getting this exchange rate right now, you're not really going to be feeling it too much. The ones that are really feeling it are the ones that have had this exchange rate of a 1 to 20 for a very long time. But for a lot of people, they're not even going to feel it. And for others, again, the ones that are coming out here and they're functioning in the Mexican economy, they're probably getting a job in the Mexican economy, starting a business out here, making pesos, whatever it is they're doing. Well, guess what? They're going to be sitting pretty at the end of the day. They're going to be helping build this monster that is going to be the Mexican economy. And it's going to be awesome because, we're all going to win. So, again, the Mexico and the USA are very closely related, and they again have a symbiotic relationship. So don't get it twisted out there. At the end of the day, the number one customer to Mexico is going to be the USA. And guess what? The Mexico is now making more and more products than it's ever made before. Products like microchips, not just cars. And guess what? These are very important things in an increasingly crazy world out there. All right. So let's not forget that. So there's a lot of variables out there. There's a lot of things going on in the world right now. Let's not forget that. And everything is, in a sense, all connected. So again, we got to remember all that. But for most people out there, that are American, for example, or Canadian, and have, really close relationship to Mexico for whatever reason, you guys will be totally fine. So yeah, So at the end of the day, I look at this like it's a beautiful thing, and most Mexicans look at it like a beautiful thing. I'll end it with this. The other day I was at the bank. We were talking about this subject, and the banker there, he was just like, man, yes, like the most amazing thing would be the peso to get stronger. So they get it. They understand the whole situation. So, yeah, just interesting, all around. And, at the end of the day, you guys out there in the audience have a lot to think about, a lot to, digest. And hopefully, this episode wasn't too long. And hopefully this episode was very informative, and it really helped you, make a better decision going forward on what you're going to do with your life and where you're going to go, and so on and so forth. All right. So with that being said, I want to give a big shout out to every one of my members out there, every single one of my patrons out there, every single one of you guys out there that is constantly supporting the show, whether you're asking me a question for me to answer during our live question and answer sessions on Thursday, or whether, you're just sending me a few bucks here and there just because you like me and you want to help me feed my horse and my dog, or you come out here and you buy a t-shirt, you buy a mug, whatever it is you're doing out there, and you're supporting the show. I really appreciate you. For all the patrons that support me every month, all the members support me every month. I love you guys. Shout out to all of you guys. And again, all of you guys that just support me by simply subscribing to the channel, by hitting the like button on the channel. You guys are awesome as well. You guys are all helping me out by sharing the videos. By the way, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. I see like half of you guys haven't subscribed yet. I look at the algorithm. I look at this data. That's right. So, well, you think these things are free? No, you got to pay for them somehow. Watch those commercials. Give me that data so I can see. I can see who you are out there. Actually, that's Google. Anyways, all right, that's another story for another day. But long story short, I want to give a shout out to everyone out there. I love you guys out there. It's all of my, again, patrons, all of my members, every single one of you guys that helps me out every single month, every week, every whatever, constantly, just supporting the show in any way, shape, or form. I love you guys. You guys are the best. So with all that being said, you already know the deal. If you guys like this kind of content, don't forget to please like, please subscribe, please share, please hit the bell icon, but more importantly than anything else, please stay awesome. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.